Hello. I would like to discuss what I consider to be the most basic essentials of correct posture at the piano. Not only posture at the piano, because it has effect on everything, has effect on our health, but also certainly on great sound quality. I think this last connection is a real reason for paying great attention to these aspects of posture. What I consider to be essential as a first step is how we sit. Sitting with a straight back is definitely very, very important. A straight back so that you really are above the music, so to say. Also, when doing this, it's essential to eradicate things like slumping at the piano, holding the neck over the keyboard. That last appears as though we're ready for execution, but seriously, we do need to really pay attention to the straight back. When having this back straight, there's several reasons for this, because it allows the arms to be free to bring the weight flowing through into the keyboards. So the keyboard receives the weight from the arm. If that's too restricted by these sort of positions, when we're closely putting our elbows towards the body, somehow we lose that freedom. So that's the second main point. How is the arm going to be? The arm needs to be a little bit projected outwards, a little bit out from the body, and also not too much backwards, a little bit forwards, if anything. And I would suggest another element which is not often spoken about, but perhaps the elbow a fraction higher than the height of the keys, because that somehow lets the flowing into the keys. We will discuss that a little further later, because there's a point which you'll understand really why I say that. So the elbow a little higher, outwards and forwards. We have then the freedom in front of the body to move in any direction we need. But what about the wrist? So the wrist is essentially also something that must be held in a relaxed, easy way. It's got to be the breathing part of the phrase. The wrist breathes with us as we phrase the music, so that we make the most natural sound we can possibly make in the most natural way without really having to think about it too much. Well, the wrist, I consider when we practice, it's very handy to allow the wrist to move upwards a little bit on each note, each chord, or each note, the wrist a fraction upwards. This can only be done, of course, in a slow tempo, but it's often very useful because it does give us the feeling of breathing with the wrist already on each note. The next element, of course, that's essential is what do the fingers do? Well, the fingers, I think, are, of course, just as essential as the weight. I wouldn't like to stress one above the other, but I do believe that a finger needs to be basically diagonal to the key, extended. Just like as if we're holding our arms and letting them fall, the fingers fall, we come up with a slightly curved but rather extended finger. This is essential, because this allows the whole weight of the arm really to flow through into the fingers. It also gives us the feeling that we're diving into the keys. The fingers dive through into the key to create the sound. And that comes through the weight that goes right through from the shoulder, right through to the finger top. That diving, I think, is a lovely way of explaining it. Because when we dive, we don't want to dive into concrete. We would dive into water in a swimming pool. So the same thing applies with playing on the keys. We're diving into a moving key. Not into the bottom of a key, but we're diving into a moving key. So we feel that element of continuation of sound going right through into the actual length of each note. One other element I would like to discuss in this very first video is what we do when we're phrasing. So I mentioned the actual phrasing, breathing of the wrist. That's dreadfully important, because when we are playing towards the fifth finger, we could actually feel that the wrist goes slightly upwards. When coming down, it goes slightly down. So there's this slight undulating movement of the wrist. You can actually see that. And that gives the possibility to let the flowing weight right through from the first to the fifth fingers. Some people play very well from the first to the third fingers, but very poorly from the third to the fifth fingers, because these are totally different feelings. The feeling of extending the weight right through from the first to the fifth finger is essential in good playing. So with these few things, I hope that it has been of some use, and it will clarify some of my thoughts about the correct sound posture at the piano. Thank you very much for watching.